Hello friends, and welcome back to another edition of the Co-op Monthly. September is here, which means you already know tons of games are dropping and we've got plenty to cover. But before we dive in, I'm going to take this rare chance at the very start of the video to make a humble request. We're inching closer and closer to that big shiny 100,000 subscriber milestone. Over the past 5 years, Gabe and I have never been the type to beg for likes or comments, but hey, if you feel like sharing our channel with a friend or your favorite gaming community, we definitely would not say no to that. The almighty algorithm hasn't exactly been on its A game lately. You've probably seen that from several other large gaming channels, and we've felt the sting here too. So consider this our polite plea for a little pat on the back. Alright, sales pitch is over. Let's get into all the co-op games that dropped last month, the ones coming up next month, and any co-op news in between, because this is in fact the September Co-op Monthly. Gabe, hit us with that review roundup.
Among the games media, September is known as review season for the absolutely insane amount of games released during this time. That means we have a stacked co-op roundup, so let's not dilly-dally, let's get right into it. Daemon x Machina Titanic Scion is a fast-paced open-world mecha action game supporting 3-player online co-op that launched the first week of September. It received a fairly similar reception to that of the first game, at least as far as critics are concerned, with both games landing with a 70 on OpenCritic. Though it seems like players are more fond of the original, as Titanic Scion sits with a mixed user rating on Steam, down from the very positive of its predecessor. The game is available on all platforms, including Switch 2, and if you've played it, why don't you give us your impressions down below. I've been seeing lots of mentions of Shape of Dreams down in the comments lately, and I'm starting to see why. This is a 4-player online co-op roguelite with crossplay support that's landed with a solid reception. Though it only has 6 reviews up on OpenCritic, it's garnered a solid 86. To be fair, only half of those reviews are contributing to the score, but a top critic like Screen Rant had this to say of its 9 out of 10 score. Roguelike debuts are rarely as content-rich, mechanically deep, or stable as this one. There's even drop-in drop-out co-op, a remarkably rare multiplayer boon. Over on Steam, it's sitting at a very positive user rating with a little over 2,000 reviews. All that to say, we'll definitely be adding this one to the backlog. The biggest release of the month is without a doubt Borderlands 4. Over on OpenCritic, it landed with an 83 top critic average, while players gave it a more mixed user rating on Steam. We're playing through this ourselves, and for that one person asking where the review is on multiple videos, we see you fam, but we didn't get early access to this one like many other creators, so our review will be coming as soon as we finish the game. To give you our thoughts so far, we're having fun with it. The open world is starting to click, class design is pretty solid, and we've been impressed with the major bosses of the campaign. What we're less impressed with is the performance on PC and consoles. Both platforms are facing different issues which we've experienced within our 4-player squad. I guess it's probably a good call they decided to delay the Switch 2 version after all. Over to a smaller title, Stormlancers is a 2-player local co-op roguelite that sees you and a friend fighting to survive on an alien planet. The game is a Switch exclusive and doesn't appear to have received many reviews. One of the only reviews I found was from Nintendo World Report, which scored it a 5.5 out of 10, citing repetitive gameplay and okay visuals as the major cons. If you've hopped into this one after a shadow drop during the Nintendo Direct this month, let us know your thoughts down below. Next up, we have LEGO Voyagers, which dropped on the 15th. This is a 2-player adventure title featuring both online and local co-op. We played through this one ourselves, but let's check in with critics first, who contributed towards its 79 on OpenCritic. Over on Steam, the game is sitting with a very positive user rating with close to 500 reviews. Pretty low, but I assume most people are playing this one on consoles. For our take, we love LEGO Voyagers. It's a short and sweet co-op adventure featuring a stunning LEGO world. There's a couple fun surprises, and it's doing enough to justify its $25 asking price. Plus, there's a friend pass feature allowing you to play the game with a friend online via only one copy. If you want to hear more, be sure to check out our full review on the channel. Another game we reviewed this month is Henry Halfhead. Taking a look at OpenCritic, the game is sitting at a 79 top critic average, and while it has less than 100 reviews on Steam, those who reviewed it contributed towards its very positive rating. Henry Halfhead is a puzzle title supporting 2-player local co-op, where both players can assume the form of nearby objects. It's a very quirky game, it gave me major Untitled Goose Game vibes, and ultimately it's one we recommended on our review. It's pretty short, but it's also only $12 US. If you're looking for a fun, casual, light puzzle game to play with a friend, loved one, child, etc., check out Henry Halfhead. Voyagers of Nera is a survival crafting game set across a magical ocean world supporting up to 10-player online co-op. It's currently in early access, meaning there's no real reviews out, but so far it's garnered a very positive user rating on Steam from close to 600 reviews. I've chalked this one up to being basically Moana the video game. Let me know if that tracks down in the comments below. Towa and the Guardians of the Sacred Tree is a title we've been eagerly looking forward to since it was revealed at Summer Game Fest, but over time I started to lose interest in this one personally, especially after playing the demo. Ultimately, the game landed with a 72 on OpenCritic and a mixed user rating on Steam from around 100 reviews. Our friends over at Noisy Pixel gave the game a 5.5 out of 10, citing repetitive gameplay and shallow combat mechanics, but praising its charming character designs. Other outlets were a bit more positive, however, so it looks like this is a divisive title to say the least. I didn't get a chance to play the game in co-op when I played the demo, but the way its 2-character combat system is set up, I can't see it being very compelling. If you think otherwise, set me straight in the comments down below. The second biggest release of the month besides Borderlands 4 is Dying Light the Beast. This new installment in the open world survival horror franchise sees the return of Kyle Crane, now with new souped up beast powers. The game supports online co-op for up to 4 players and has earned a strong 82 on OpenCritic. Over on Steam, the game is sitting with a very positive user rating from close to 12,000 reviews. Overall, it seems like this one has stuck the landing, with many critics praising its open world setting and the way the game leans into more horror elements. In a very stacked September, this one unfortunately fell through the cracks for us, but it's one we'd really like to check out before the year's over. Goblin Cleanup is that comedic co-op cleaning game I made a whole bit out of in the last monthly. It's launched onto early access and has earned a very positive user rating on Steam from close to 500 reviews. It's crazy to say this, but despite the stacked review season, I genuinely like to find time to check this out, especially seeing as most players appear to be having a lot of fun with it. Wobbly Life looks like a cross between Human Fall Flat and GTA, and it seems like plenty of people are enjoying that mix because it's sitting with an overwhelmingly positive user rating on Steam from close to 15,000 reviews. Pretty wild. The premise, according to Steam, reads, Grandma has kicked you out into the big wide wobbly world, demanding you go and get a job. I don't know, man, that seems a little too real for me. Gameplay-wise, it seems like a fun, wacky sandbox with local and online co-op support for up to 4 players. RaTaTan is a rhythm roguelike action game coming from the team behind Patapon, if that wasn't obvious. The game supports online co-op for up to 4 players and has earned a very positive user rating so far from its early access launch. We might not get a chance to check this out, but it looks like the game plans to be in early access anywhere between 6 months to a year, so we'll definitely check in with it once it drops its big 1.0 update. Another early access release was the launch of Jump Space. You might remember this used to be called Jump Ship, as the game revolves around completing missions as part of the crew of a spaceship. With close to 3,000 reviews, Jump Space has earned a very positive user rating, with many players praising the combat and inventive gameplay loop. I think this one has a ton of potential, and we're both excited to see how it develops the closer it gets to its 1.0 launch. Forgotten Fragments is a 2-player local co-op puzzle platformer revolving around an interesting sphere swapping mechanic. It has next to no reviews on Steam, but I want to give it a shout out here because even though we haven't played it ourselves, it looks interesting and it could be a hidden gem. The game has a separate co-op campaign and it's out now exclusively on Steam. Sworn was originally slated to release on September 25th, but with the announcement of Hades 2 dropping the same day, the team wisely decided to move up the date by 2 days. As you can probably tell, this game is noticeably inspired by Hades, but allows you to take on its roguelike challenges with 3 friends in tow. Since it's a recent 1.0 release, there's not many reviews on OpenCritic. Looking at Steam, the game is sitting with a very positive user rating with close to 2,000 reviews. We've been playing this lately and have been really enjoying it. Sure, it may not play as well as Hades, but it makes up for that with co-op, fun class design, and some really solid meta progression. We'll be putting out a review on this as soon as possible, so stay tuned for that. With one game exiting early access, we have another entering early access with Macabre. This is a 4-player online co-op horror title that mixes Eggstraction and stealth gameplay. As it's in early access, there's not many critic reviews out there, but over on Steam, the game is sitting with a mixed user rating from less than 100 reviews. Many reviews are critical of the monster's AI and behavior, while praising the overall atmosphere and co-op play. We'll be following this one closely as it continues its early access journey. Stay tuned for more coverage on Macabre. And lastly, we have Nicktoons and the Dice of Destiny, which is releasing today. Since it doesn't seem like review copies were sent out ahead of launch, we'll have to follow up next month to see how this one did. But quick overview in case you missed it last month, this is a 4-player local co-op action RPG featuring your favorite Nicktoon characters reimagined as fantasy heroes, and it's available on all platforms.
First up for October is King of Meat, a co-op party platformer for up to 4 players built entirely around community-made puzzles. Think Mario Maker meets Fall Guys and you're in the right ballpark. It's being published by Amazon, which definitely raises an eyebrow, but the gameplay looks fun enough that I'm keeping an open mind. It's bright, it's chaotic, the kind of game a boardroom would confidently label as zany. The good news is it's launching on every console with crossplay, so it'll be easy to give this one a shot when it drops on the 7th. The co-op title I'm personally most excited for this October is Absolum, Emu's fresh spin on the beat-em-up, this time with a roguelite twist. I was sold from the very first trailer, and every look since has only pulled me in deeper. The characters look fantastic, special shout out to Wizard Frog, the movesets seem varied and satisfying, and the latest trailer gave us our clearest look yet at the roguelite elements. There's even a mercenary system and mounts. They have packed everything in. It's only 2 players, but supports both local and online co-op. Mark your calendars for the 9th because this one feels like something special. Also dropping on the 9th is Little Nightmares 3, the return of the series after 4 years, this time with a new developer in Supermassive. They know their way around horror, but this is the first Little Nightmares to focus on co-op, so expectations are still gonna be high. You and a friend will take on the roles of 2 best friends trying to puzzle solve and survive through a creepy mix of factories, carnivals, and whatever other horror backdrop Supermassive can dream up. At this point, we're just waiting to see which game hits our hands first between this and Absolum, but rest assured, both are on our short list to cover in the coming weeks. You might recognize Fellowship from earlier monthlies. It's finally hitting early access on the 16th. This one is taking a swing at the MMO genre by stripping away the grind and focusing entirely on raids and dungeons. You build your squad of tanks, healers, and DPS across 4 players in co-op in a lush fantasy world. Dungeons scale to your team's level, and the devs are promising plenty of modifiers and updates to keep things fresh. Published by Arc Games, the folks behind Remnant 2 and the Torchlight series, so the co-op pedigree is there. If they nail it, this could be one worth tracking closely all the way up to 1.0. Painkiller is making a comeback this October, rebooted with the addition of co-op. I'll be honest, I never heard of the original until right now, but the pitch is basically Doom with friends, and I've played enough RoboQuest and Abyssus to know that that formula can definitely hit. This new version has 4 distinct characters with unique perks. You can use tarot cards for build variety, there's a whole arsenal of guns, and a swarm of enemies that look appropriately demonic. Add in crossplay between console and PC, and this could be one we at least take a peek at, schedule permitting. The classic Plants vs. Zombies is getting the HD remastered treatment with Replanted on the 23rd, complete with 2-player local co-op. Full disclosure, I've never played a Plants vs. Zombies game and don't quite get the hype. Feel free to educate me in the comments, but I know the series has a massive following. It's got the lane defense gameplay, plenty of quirky minigames, and now some added modes like permadeath for extra tactical challenge. Feels like a fun couch option whether you're chasing that nostalgia or jumping in for the first time. And finally, on the 27th, we get Escape Simulator 2, and no, that is not to be confused with Escape Academy 2. I made that mistake as well. Gabe and I played the first Escape Academy and loved it, but this one's actually a sequel to the Escape Simulator series, which does have an overwhelmingly positive reception on Steam. Expect a more realistic look here, support for up to 8-player co-op, and even a room editor. If Gabe had unlimited time, I am terrified of the diabolical escape rooms that man would cook up. I actually did save 3 more titles and put it in a bit of a combo pack because, I don't know, it just struck me as funny because within a single week we're somehow getting co-op games based on Chicken Run, Asterix, and Obelix, might not even be pronouncing that correctly, and Dora the Explorer. Really, 2025 is the year those IPs are gonna make a comeback? I'm sure, why not? So yes, Chicken Run, Eggstraction is on the 24th, Dora, Rainforest Rescue is also on the 24th, and Asterix and Obelix Mission Babylon to close out the month on the 30th. You've now seen snippets of the trailers, you know they exist, and we can all collectively move on, none the wiser as to why they exist, but maybe just a little bit happier that they do.
And before we move on to our news segment, let me take a quick second to tell you about our Patreon. Running a YouTube channel is hard work, and your support is what keeps us going. That's why we're super grateful for all our patrons. Joining their ranks gets you all sorts of benefits like a monthly newsletter, voting on upcoming video topics, and access to our Patreon exclusive series, Play and Banter, where we give you first impressions of games with some unfiltered gameplay. Check out our 2 tiers by following the links below and consider supporting our humble 2-man team. Now let's get back to the show.
Alright, most of the big headlines this month were actually about updates to existing games, especially stuff coming to the Switch, so let's kick things off there. The truly massive September Nintendo Direct opened with Mario because of course it did, it's the plumber's 40th birthday, happy birthday to our king. One of the gifts that he's bringing to his own party is the brand new DLC for Super Mario Bros. Wonder, Meet Up in Bella Bell Park. Man, those titles are super long. It's multiplayer focused with both competitive and co-op levels. I mean, it looks fun, though honestly I would have loved to see this at launch. Wonder already does a better job with co-op than most 2D Marios, but it's never been the series' main focus or really one of its strengths, so I'm curious to see how Bella Bell Park really leans into that when it drops next spring. After that, we got a few Switch 2 updates to popular indie titles, starting with Stardew Valley, which brings 4-player local co-op, since Switch 1 was limited to just 2 players before. It also adds mouse controls, which is one of the first times that gimmick feels like it might actually work. It drops this fall. Overcooked 2 gets an official Switch 2 edition this winter with improved resolution and frame rates, but also camera play, one of the few uses of that gimmick that also might actually work. And Human Fall Flat Switch 2 edition comes next spring and includes a mix of brand new levels, and all future levels will be included as well. Linked Banner of the Spark Shadow dropped to Switch 1 and 2 during the Direct, with the Switch 2 sporting better graphics and performance. We've had a few sessions of Link both in Early Access and 1.0, and have always enjoyed its unique combo of Animal Crossing meets isometric action. The cozy but tough survival crafting game Dinkum is making its way to Switch 1 on November 5th. Set in the Australian outback with 4-player online co-op, it's got strong Steam reviews backing it up. And to wrap up the Nintendo Direct, Popucom, a color-switching puzzle platformer, is coming to Switch 1 this holiday. I didn't even realize this had already been released earlier this year, but Steam players are rating it very positively. 4-player local and online co-op make it one to keep on the radar. One of our friend group's favorite co-op titles of the year is Sunderfolk, and it's sort of back in the spotlight. If you slept on it, you're kind of making a big mistake. But here's your excuse to jump back in. This fall, it's getting a free 1.5 update that adds one-shot missions, short 15 to 25-minute campaigns that are perfect for trying out new characters or introducing a friend to the game. In case you forgot, this is the game where most of the experience happens on your phone or tablet. It's basically a tabletop adventure without the actual tabletop and instead your TV and your phone. We really want to see more from the studio, and this update just reinforces how much love we've got for the game. So yeah, I think you should give it a shot, maybe a one-shot. Kyborg is an action-heavy 3D beat-em-up that originally launched back in April to mostly positive reviews, but if you're like us, you probably skipped it knowing co-op was quote-unquote coming eventually. Well, good news, eventually is right now. The long-promised campaign co-op is here, live on PC, Xbox, and PlayStation. It's local only and capped at 2 players, but from the looks of it, this is exactly the excuse you've been waiting for to finally give it a shot. Smash some faces, throw some punches, beat 'em up, but make it co-op. 2 for 2, baby. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Splintered Fate is the game that just refuses to stop updating in the best way possible. The devs just dropped what they're calling their biggest update ever, and it looks like they're not exaggerating. It's free, and it packs in a brand new arcade mode, fresh levels, a new storyline, new powers, new enemies, visual upgrades, and a bunch of balancing tweaks. On top of that, there's also paid DLC in the form of a new playable character, Metalhead. He's the 6th turtle adjacent on the roster, and the first true full-range character, so he brings an entirely new playstyle to the mix. All of this went live on September 30th, so you can dive in right now, and look, yes, we did play this earlier this year for a sponsored Let's Play, but here's the unsponsored truth. The game is basically Hades, but with Ninja Turtles, and it absolutely works. Not exactly a hot take, but if you were holding out for our official stamp of approval, consider it granted. Last Epoch has been hanging out on Steam for a while now, sitting pretty with mostly positive reviews, but it's finally making the jump to consoles, starting with PlayStation. The PS5 launch is set to line up with the game's first big expansion, Oribus. Okay, I got it. Oribus. Only catch, neither has a release date yet. So if there are any Last Epoch fans that have inside info, drop us a hint in the comments because we have no idea when this is going to happen. The quick pitch is that Last Epoch is basically Diablo, but for the player who looked at Diablo's skill trees and said, yeah, but what if we made it way more complicated? Tons of crafting systems, tons of builds, tons of time that you're never going to get back, but in a good way if you're into that. Probably not something Gabe and I will ever dive deep into given the way that we have to cover co-op, but massive respect to the folks who have the time and the brain power to thrive in that. Valheim has been in early access on Steam for 4 years and on Xbox for nearly as long, but PlayStation players, your turn is finally coming. The hit survival crafting game is making its way to Sony's platforms next year, complete with a signature low poly, procedurally generated world, and up to 10-player co-op with full cross-play support. Does this mean that we're finally going to see the 1.0 release? I highly doubt it. FBC Firebreak launched earlier this year with a bit of a swing and a miss. Check out our review if you want the details, but we knew it had at least one more at-bat to turn things around. Well, here comes Breakpoint, an update that's set to launch after I write this, but before the video goes live, so I don't actually know how it turned out. What I can tell you is what's included. Missions have been completely reworked, jobs are gone, and crisis boards are in. There's a new tutorial for newcomers, a fresh mission, gun mods, new weapons, cosmetics, and enemies. Tons of systemic improvements have been made to objectives, economy, and progression. It is a big swing, and we're hoping they knock it out of the park because despite the flaws, this is a passionate team that clearly cares and will always root for that kind of team. Some outlets like Game Informer recently got some hands-on time with Turok Origins at Gamescom 2025. Their preview specifically highlights Saber Interactive's effort to bring back the franchise, leaning on the successes of the first 4 Turok games, while integrating Native American and indigenous culture through the story and the gameplay. Players pick from animal-inspired classes like Raven, Cougar, or Bison, each with unique skill trees and mantles that give special abilities. The demo seemed to impress them with solid gunplay, fun first and third-person switching, and the simple joy of blasting dinosaurs. Check out their full article on Game Informer for all the details, and hopefully we get a chance to preview it ourselves because we too love a good dinosaur. Chip and Claws vs. the Brainioids launched back at the end of August and did not get nearly enough attention. We've been trying to carve out time for a full review. We did a sponsored Let's Play and had a blast, so trust us when we say it deserves more eyes on it. The devs are already rolling out more content, including a new PvE skirmish mode dropping on the 29th, plus friend pass support for PvP so your buddies can jump in for free. That's already out. When I say 29th, I mean September, so it's here. You can play it now. More PvP content is planned for late October too. Bottom line, it's a super fun co-op forward twist on action strategy games, and we think it's worth checking out. Subscribe if you want to catch our full review once we finally get around to it. We've got a lot cooking, but that one is on the list. Killing Floor 3 launched back in July, but let's be real, it landed with more of a thud than a boom. Steam reviews were pretty rough, citing bugs, thin content, and a heavy dose of monetization. The devs might be listening though, because the free rearmament update drops this Halloween. Expect new weapons, updated attachments, and a reworked perk system. It probably needs more than just a shiny new gun rack to turn things around, but hey, plenty of co-op shooters have clawed their way back before. If you thought we were done talking Borderlands 4 after the review roundup, think again. Gearbox just teased the first new Vault Hunter, Cash, but spelt with a 4 in it because Borderlands. He'll arrive with story DLC number 1 in Q1 of 2026. He looks cooler than the entire starting lineup, which makes me kinda wish he was playable at launch. But then again, what else would I spend my money on later?
With plenty of showcases this month, we have various news bits for upcoming co-op titles, so let's jump in. We got more news out of the Nintendo Direct revealing the November 6th release date for Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment. Similar to the last Hyrule Warriors title, this is a hack-and-slash spin-off developed by Koei Tecmo that mixes the Zelda IP with some Dynasty Warriors-like action. The previous Hyrule Warriors gave us a glimpse of events prior to Breath of the Wild, and it looks like Age of Imprisonment will shed some light on Princess Zelda's timeline in Tears of the Kingdom. Andrew is a big fan of the last game. Despite its shoddy performance, it actually has a great story and some really fun combat. I'm excited to check this out via 2-player local co-op, and hopefully that Switch 2 horsepower delivers a more stable experience. But that wasn't the only showcase this month, because PlayStation also held one of their State of Plays, revealing the February 6th release date for Nioh 3. This latest entry is shaking up the formula by introducing larger open zone levels, not quite open world but still bigger than in the previous games. The game supports 3-player online co-op, allowing you to summon players to help you out on a boss. There's an additional co-op option called Expeditions, however, which allows 3 players to freely explore levels together. We're both pretty stoked for this entry and happy to carve out some space for it early next year. And one more release date for you, Biped 2 is coming soon, with it launching on November 5th. This is a co-op puzzle platformer that sees you control these bipedal robots, hence the name. The game is built on a movement system that sees you control your left and right legs using the left and right thumbsticks respectively. The game features up to 4-player co-op both online and locally, and it honestly looks like a ton of fun. Definitely want to check this one out when it comes to Steam and PlayStation. Right at the end of the month, Tokyo Game Show kicked off with various publishers and outlets hosting their own mini showcases. Xbox's showcase gave us a release date for Star Sand Island, now launching February 1st. This is a cozy anime life sim where you can fish, farm, raise animals, befriend or fall in love with locals, and pretty much live out your most idyllic anime life with friends via online co-op. If this is your cup of tea, check it out when it launches on PC, PlayStation, and Xbox consoles early next year. The PC gaming show is always full of indie gems, and this time around we got a brand new look at Oasis. This is a dungeon brawler featuring physics-fueled combat set in an ancient floating relic. The game looks to support 4-player online and local co-op, and yeah, I don't know man, this looks pretty sweet. It's also got a killer soundtrack thanks to Hip Tanaka, a composer whose credits include Metroid, Earthbound, and Super Smash Bros. Brawl. This is definitely one to watch, be sure to add this to your wishlist. Another great announcement from the PC Gaming Show was a long-awaited update on Outward 2. The showcase gave us a brand new gameplay trailer ending with the updated release window of summer 2026. Outward was an amazing indie gem that was held back a bit by some performance issues and certain design choices. Still, it's a game we really enjoyed and one of the first videos to truly pop off here on the channel. Outward 2, like the original, is an open-world RPG built around co-op play and committed to a grounded role-playing experience. The game introduces various survival mechanics, meaning you have to manage your hunger and sleep while out exploring the world. Outward 2 features both online and local co-op and is easily one of our most anticipated games for next year. And after some pretty great news bits, we're gonna wrap up this section with something that could be incredible and could also be nothing but smoke. There's been a lot of recent speculation that the sequel to Cyberpunk currently in development could have a multiplayer/co-op component. Two facts have sparked this rumor as of late. The first is the fact that multiplayer was scrapped from the original game. And more recently, a job posting on CD Projekt Red's website called for a lead network engineer, basically someone pivotal to designing and implementing network and online systems. So yeah, could this be absolutely nothing? For sure. But as I always like to say, where there's smoke, there's fire, my friends.
And finally, we're on to new game announcements, but before that, a little appetizer. One of the minds behind Left 4 Dead is cooking up something new in that same style. Not quite ready to call it a full announcement, so we'll keep it brief and jump into the full reveals. What you're seeing here is Tiny Metal 2, an Advance Wars style game taking another shot at the genre. The first Tiny Metal didn't quite land back in 2017, but this one looks like it's bringing way more to the table. Cinematics are handled by a dedicated animation studio with solid Japanese voice talent, but the real standout is how the campaign is built from the ground up for both couch co-op and online play. Up to 8 players can team up or duke it out with allied commanders sharing resources, focusing fire, resupplying each other, and even using unique support powers to help a buddy out. It's easily the most robust co-op implementation we've seen in this admittedly niche genre. If you love Wargroove and its co-op DLC like we did, this is probably right in your wheelhouse. Tiny Metal devs, if you're listening, consider sending us an early build so we can dive in for a preview. Ever wanted Animal Crossing, but like as a tiny baby in a miniature world? Same, and now we've got Animula Nook. Announced for PlayStation, PC, and Switch 2, the trailer looks almost too good to be true. Probably a lot of CGI with some sprinkled gameplay, but if the final product is even close to what this looks like, it could definitely be huge. Animal Crossing has never really faced a big AAA level rival, and Animula Nook looks ready to come for the throat, but with a Play-Doh knife because cozy vibes only. No release date yet, so go wishlist it. Ever wanted to build a hyper-realistic cult in an apocalyptic wasteland? Yeah, me neither, but apparently a lot of people do, so maybe lock your doors. Enter Join Us, a doomsday cult simulator you can play with up to 4 friends. Between the impressive visuals, the varied gameplay, and the fact that you can literally ride pigs and bears while spraying bullets at non-believers, this one looks like it's unfortunately going to do really well. It's targeting a 2026 release window with PC as the first stop. Project Evil Bane is a 4-player co-op action RPG that actually first popped up during IGN's live showcase earlier this year, but it slipped past us, so we're making up for it now. It's rocking a medieval sort of future-y aesthetic, complete with definitely some sexy characters and the flexibility to swap between third-person melee or ranged combat on the fly. Still early days for this one, but it's aiming for a late 2026 release on PC, with Xbox consoles following in 2027. What you just watched was some of the trailer for the Cannon of Balls, a hardcore first-person platforming game that's essentially co-op Monkey Ball mixed with Shadow of the Colossus. The game supports online co-op and is set for release sometime in Q4 of this year. This might be the most unique mix of genres we've seen in this video series and a perfect closer to a stacked monthly.
Thanks for watching, guys. It's been an absolutely stacked month for releases. We've tried our very best to cover everything we could, even if some reviews might be coming a little later than expected. If you're a fan of this series, if we've put you on to a great co-op game, do us a solid, like, subscribe, and share this with a friend. We always put our very best into these videos, and it's your support that makes it worth it. Thank you to our Patreon producers for going above and beyond. We got a lot of great videos coming this week, so we'll see ya on the next one.